right, welcome, my client and acquisition and scaling family. I hope everyone had an amazing weekend. And for those of you guys in the US, a wonderful 4th of July holiday. And welcome to the Monday Mindset. And remember, this is the place to be every single Monday. This is where we feed your mind, give you tips and strategies to build your businesses and scale them, and be around like-minded business owners on the same journey that you are on. Now, remember, when you change your mindset, you change your business. If this is your first time, welcome. Type first in the comments. And if you'd like to receive SMS reminders and you're not already doing so, you can type SMS in the comments or the chat, and we will get you on that list. Our SMS reminders give you a 10-minute SMS text 10 minutes before we start. That's it. We don't bug you any other way. And for my new folks, my name is Lisa Parziel, and I own a 7-figure agency in North Texas. And today I want to talk to you guys about independence. I felt like the day after 4th of July, that is the thing to talk about, right? Independence and freedom in our business, freedom in our life, and freedom in general. And so today I'm going to tell you my story and how I achieved my freedom, because I love celebrating the fact that I had accomplished that very thing. Remember, when you have freedom in your life, freedom in how you work, where you work, whom you work with, why you work, everything about it, it really is a level of independence like no other. And it provides a lifestyle that we most likely dreamed of, and most people don't even know or have no ability to get in their life. So when I was young, I actually wasn't taught that there was any other way than to get a job, right? To go get a job. I came from an immigrant type of family. I'm first generation American. And so really it was the American dream to come here, get a good paying job, buy a house with a white picket fence, and then work happily until you retire. And then when you retire, you would then get to take that long, wonderful life of respite and retreat and all these good things. The problem is, why do we want to wait until we're older and retire to enjoy life? It didn't quite make sense. But I did what every other person does. I went out and I got my first job by joining the military. So straight out of high school, I didn't have options to go to college. I didn't have the ability to do anything except try to figure out how to get a job. And so I joined the military at the young age of 17 because I was going to go in there and learn a trade. And at the time, computers really weren't a big deal. They were just kind of getting into the mainstream of small, personal computers and things like that. So I actually picked a field where I got to learn some mainframe computing, and that turned out to be a really, really smart thing. But when I left the military, I didn't start my own business because I had no clue what that meant. It didn't even occur to me to run my own business. And the reason was everything up here. I did not have an independent mindset. I did not have a freedom mindset. In fact, I had a job mindset. My goal was to get a job after I left the military. And that's exactly what I did. And I worked and worked and worked from the time I was 17 years old and joined the military until well into my 30s and 40s. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is in that very first job that I had, let me say the very first major job I had a lot of jobs up until I finally had a career. And I was hired to be a trainer. And I would go out and I would teach computer programming because that's what I was taught in the military, right? I was a computer programmer. I was given that skill set, but I didn't have a college degree. But I was able to go train. And for 10 years, I taught people Java and JavaScript and web design. And even back then, you had to teach people about the internet because it was so new. Now, think about that. I want you guys to kind of think through what I'm telling you. So, we're talking about back in the 90s. I had the ability to program computers. I knew what the internet it was. I knew how to build websites. I knew software, hardware. I was probably in the top 0.5% of people who had a skill set that was going to explode and become one of the most sought after skills in its time, right? The information age. And I had no clue how to have a business, how to start a business. I had no desire to try to do that because I don't want to call it programmed. I was brought up in a way that my beliefs were that you get a job, you work that job. A job equals security. So I didn't start my own business, but I did start traveling a lot. So think about freedom. We're talking about independence and freedom today. I traveled a lot in my business. I went each week, I would leave on a Sunday afternoon to go teach in some other state or some other city in America, and sometimes in Canada or overseas. I was sent all these places to teach. Now, it felt a little like independence because I was traveling and that was fun, but I wasn't picking where I went. I wasn't picking when I got here, when I left, what I did, what I didn't do. None of that was my choice, right? I had to do what someone told me to do. And after 10 years of doing that, being loyal to a company, doing what the company asked of me, without a moment's notice, I was laid off. I was told that my services were no longer needed because, you see, the telecom industry was going bust at the time and there were big problems. And those were some of our biggest clients. And so they needed to try to save the company. And how do you do that? Well, you get rid of as many people as you can and then either hire back contractors, which is the job I was offered to come back as a contractor, but I was laid off. And instead of at that point deciding, you know what, I should try this on my own. I know more than most everybody. I didn't. And I had been doing it on the side as I traveled all over. I had so much free time and I was so bored that I started doing websites on the side for people. I started kind of like a little quasi business back then, but it was for fun and it was on the side. And no matter how much I hated my job, and at that point I didn't hate my job. And I think that was important. I actually liked that job. I enjoyed that job, but I was shocked. I literally was laid off without notice. So what do you think I did? If you guessed it, I went out and got another job as quickly as I could. And this time I ended up at a little company that you may or may not know called Countrywide Mortgage, who ended up being the company that supposedly was at the middle of a big scandal in 2007, 2008 that brought our whole economy down. So we know where this is going to end, right? But I did work my way up again. And I got into a job in corporate America this time. And unfortunately, even after Countrywide went bankrupt or whatever you want to call it, we were bought by Bank of America. And then I started working for another large corporation. And I was making strides. I was working up the ladder. But the problem is this job, I hated. I hated this job like nothing I've ever hated in my life. And it wasn't because it was a bad job. This job was the first time in my life where I really didn't feel free. I felt like I had absolutely no independence. And I want you guys right now in the chat, type it in. Do you still work a day job? And if you do you feel free in that job, right? This job, I was not traveling. I was not in my own classroom, right? My previous job, I had a classroom. I had usually taught week-long classes. So I managed the entire class and I dictated what happened in that class and how things went. I traveled. I felt free. In this job, I felt locked, trapped. Most days I was frustrated, mad. I can't even tell you how many emotions I had. I hated my day job. And if you're out of the workplace and you've left that, I'm sure you can relate. And if you can, put that in the comments or in the chat. Even if you're watching the replay, do it. It's cathartic sometimes to say, I hated my job, and just saying that out loud. Because I did. I lacked any type of freedom. And as much as business will tell you, no, we want you to be a part, and we want you to give us your input, and we want you to be a part of the team. What they really mean, as long as it follows our plan and is exactly what we want. And if you made any comments that didn't go along with the way, or if you had ideas, or if you saw things, that you thought would be positive, it just felt like nobody cared and nobody wanted to hear your ideas, right? And then also the backstabbing. If you guys have ever been in a job where, you've had to worry about somebody's trying to throw you under the bus just so they can get ahead in life, right? It's just not conducive. And it's definitely not independent. It's not free. So why are we talking about this today? And I'm going to tell you a little more, but why are we talking about this today? Once a year, every year, in this country, the 4th of July, the celebration of our country's independence from England, from what we felt was oppressive. I wasn't there. I'm just going to say we as Americans, we attained our freedom to be what we wanted to be in this country, to do what we wanted to do. So every year I'm reminded of that. And I can't help but put the two things together and think about my business. Think about my journey. Think about the fact that I now get up every single day and decide what I want to do. And normally I decide to work and to do things in the company, or if I don't have anything to do in my company, I work towards, new revenue gen or new things. I basically choose every single day what to do, when I'm going to do it, why I'm going to do it, who I'm going to do it with. If I don't like a customer, I fire the customer. If I don't like a service that we're providing, I can stop providing that service. You see, independence and freedom are two words we toss around, especially in this country. And if you're not in this country, I'm sure you have your thoughts about freedom and independence. But in a business, freedom and independence are the reason we started our business, but oftentimes not what happens. And that's what I want to talk about today. When you start your business, right? You have an idea, you have a dream, you have something that you think about on a regular basis. And as I was working my way up the corporate ladder, I remember thinking, I wanted to get higher and higher and higher in the company. And there were two reasons. One, the money, right? Of course, we all want more money. We want raises. We want to have things in life. But the second that I didn't understand and I wasn't aware of at the time was I was looking for affirmation. You see, I did not grow up in a way to where I ever got that information that I might have been smart or important or really anything worth a darn. And so when I worked, I was looking for that validation. And unfortunately, in the corporate environment, it's very hard to get. It's hard to achieve. And so again, I worked my way up, and I got laid off again. So 10 years into my second career, so to speak, without warning, I show up to an 8 a.m. phone call and I have no job. Now, this time I had already started a company, and I wasn't going to get into that story because I'm going to tell you guys that story in a few weeks. I'm going to tell you the entire story of how I actually created that business, but I got laid off again. But this time I had a business. I had started that business and was doing pretty good at it. So this time I decided I was not going to get another job. I will tell you, if you've ever made that decision, if you've ever decided this was the day, this was the moment, this is what I'm going to do, it's the most independence you'll ever feel, the most freedom you'll ever feel. But to me, it was also the most terror and fright I ever felt as well. And I think that's why a lot of people don't step across, right? They don't take that step to be full-time business owners because of the fear, the what ifs. What if it doesn't work out? What if I can't get enough customers? What if I can't make enough money? There's so many what ifs. But I got laid off twice. I was never in control of my future. So I could have asked the same thing at my job. What if I got laid off? What if I didn't get a raise? It doesn't matter whether you're in a job or your own company. There's always going to be fear. There's always going to be stress and worry. But here's the huge difference. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, we are in control of what happens with the what ifs. And a good case in point, if those of you on here and listening to the replay, if you do own your own business and you don't have another job, when COVID hit, there was a lot of what ifs, wasn't there? There was plenty of what ifs. We could, as business owners though, we could do something to make changes. We could do something to affect the outcome. As somebody who just has a job, we can't do that, right? If you just have a job, you're at the mercy of someone else. You're at the whim of someone else. You are stuck with whatever somebody else decides. And that is not freedom. To me, that's a prison, right? That's a prison. So when I got laid off from the last job, I decided that was the last time I would ever work for anyone else. And in fact, it was, and it will be. I will never work for anyone else again. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit more, but I want to jump. I see some comments, so I definitely want to acknowledge and talk about it. Christine said, no, I am free. And Christine, as you guys might know, is somebody who works with us. And listen to what Christine says. No, I am free. Now, Christine works with me in a couple of my businesses. Notice I say works with me and not for me. Why? Because Christine owns her own business now, and she chooses to work with me, and I am one of her clients. That's how we look at it, right? She's free, and at any moment she could fire me, fire whatever she's doing, etc. She's in control. She's free to work when she wants, how she wants, why she wants. Terry Power, love working for my own freedom, building a new course, earning by teaching more. Exactly. If you guys don't know Terry Power, amazing SEO teacher and coach. And he too chose to get that freedom, to stop working for a living. And yes, both of these folks went through our program. David Castle, I had too many jobs that had no future and often worked for promises. Oh, David, promises, right? You just put in your time. You go ahead and put in your time, and one day you'll be rewarded. And then you watch somebody else take your place in that reward. It reminds me of the movie The Devil Wears Prada, right? Where Stanley Tucci's character waits and waits and waits, and he thinks he's going to get that promotion, but wait, somebody needed something for their own good, and he got passed over. And that happens more times than we can count when we are in jobs. We see people less deserving getting the raises and the promotions, right? When you own your business, that's up to you to decide. That's up to you to figure out who that's working with you deserves more, or who deserves to be there and not be there. You are in control, and that's the most important thing. Terry, one of our greatest freedoms is the freedom to quit that job and do what you love. Exactly. It's a scary thought to quit your job. It's a scary thought to scale your business. It's a scary thought to hire people and put out money out of your pocket. But I want you guys to remember, it's the freedom and independence we have that makes it possible that we can even be scared. And that's the key here, right? When I started my business and when I got laid off that last time, I was scared. I was more scared than I'd ever been in my entire life, because I had worked from the time I was 17. And even before that, I had jobs in high school. But I had seriously worked from the time I was 17 until I'd started that business. And I started that business literally 10 years ago. So I was in my 40s, close to mid 40s when I started that business. So I had worked most of my adult life. The idea of failure scared me. The idea of success scared me, right? Where does all this come from? And let's talk about that for a minute. Where do all these fears come from? Well, they come from our belief system. What we were told when we were kids, what we were told in school, the friends we had, and what we talked about. It's hard to go back now and sort through your mind to figure out where those fears are coming from. But those old false beliefs, those preconceived notions, these are the things that were holding me back. So when I started my business, it was not all, smiles and happiness, right? I struggled quite a bit. And you've heard stories. I tell them week after week and try to help you guys kind of see through my eyes, maybe, or see through my failures or some of the things I did wrong, hoping that you guys won't do so as well. And one of the things I did not deal with, something that is super important in order to attain freedom and independence. And here's our message today. And here's really the big deal if you take nothing away from today. It's your mind. And we always say that on these calls, the Monday mindset, right? It's your mind that's going to set the level of freedom and independence you truly have. I worked 100+ hour weeks for over 3 years when I first started my business. And then I got laid off from my job, which meant I should have had plenty of time. I should have been able to work a 40-hour work week after that. But I'd lost my job. I was scared. I was petrified I wouldn't be able to make it. So I started working more and working more and working more. So I had the freedom and the independence. So I thought. But that freedom and independence comes with a level of responsibility. And I don't mean to other people. It's a responsibility to ourselves. In other words, we can't let ourselves, our fears, our inner thoughts, our beliefs to take hold and take that freedom back from us. And that's what happens in business quite often. It happened to me. I was so afraid that I wouldn't make enough money. I felt like I just had to keep working longer and longer hours and taking on any business I could to put money in the bank, because that was going to secure my independence and my freedom. And all it did was steal my independence and my freedom. It literally took my life away. And I became just as disgruntled and unhappy in my own business over time as I was working that job. And so how do I change that? And I want to give you something to take away today. How do I change that? How did I go from there to where I am today? And I'll tell you very simply, I had to change my mind. I had to shed myself of all the false beliefs and all the junk that wasn't even relevant. They weren't my worries. They weren't my fears. They weren't my insecurities. They were those of my parents and grandparents and the people who instilled them in me. They weren't mine. So how do we go about changing them? Does anyone know? Does anyone know how you go about changing something that's been ingrained in you? If you do, go ahead and put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. And excuse my little dog who's going to whine. He has no independence. So here's a great example of independence. I have a little dog sitting in my office right now, and he's unhappy because he wants to leave the office and the door is shut. So what does he do? Same thing we do, right? He's crying. If we were people, we'd say he was kind of, and if I sit there and I don't let him out of this office, he is going to get more vocal and vocal. We're the same way. So excuse me 1 second, and I'm going to let him be independent. I'll be right back. Always find a way to work it in to what we're talking about. And it's quite funny because normally I have someone here that moderates, and I have some, my dogs aren't usually in the room, but seriously, even a tiny little dog wants to exert his independence. He wanted out. He probably wanted to go get a drink, whatever, and he wanted out of the room. We're the same way. So what kind of things could be holding you back? Let's see. I'm so much happier than I've been in decades, David, working for myself and gearing up to teach what I know to people who want the info. Amen. That is the way. Ariel, I'm a physics teacher and I create websites for clients on the side. I want the independence of location to travel wherever and whenever with my wife. Luckily, and I dropped my place at university, I discovered that I was giving classes there for my ego and not for the wallet or happiness. Ariel, you heard me say that a moment ago. Why did I want to move up in corporate America? Yeah, you do want more money, but it wasn't that. It was definitely ego. It was pride. It was feeling good about myself, right? So good comments. But so how do we fix this? How do we get our heads wrapped around this, right? Well, first of all, we have to figure out what it is we do want to do in life, right? Is owning your own business as easy as saying, I'm good at this, I'll do this? No. We've got to figure out what type of business. And when we figure that out, then we have to start thinking about what services we want to sell. And we have to think about how to get clients. There's so much that has to happen. But before we do that, we have to shed our false beliefs, because that is the number one thing that not only will hold you back from starting your own business or leaving your day job, it'll also be the number one thing that allows you to make the biggest mistakes in your business. And what do I mean by that? You've heard me say it. If you've listened to any of our other Monday Mindsets, I've talked about wearing too many hats. I've talked about, not hiring people. I've talked about so many things. Every one of those things stems from the fact that I had these beliefs. I convinced myself that working hard was the way, not working smart. I'd convinced myself that not hiring meant I would make more money, when in fact, I would end up making less money by not hiring people. When I actually started hiring people and got over that false belief, I made more money. And that's the key. That's the key right here. You have to change your mindset to understand that freedom and independence is a daily and constant choice. You have to continue to choose to want to be independent. You have to continue to choose to be free every day. And to trade time for money will never work. So we have to hire people to help, or we'll never be free, right? We'll never be independent. We have to bring on more customers to feed the business. There's no getting around that. But to be truly independent and free, we shouldn't bring on customers that aren't ideal for our business. So we have to figure out in our heads, why are we just taking everything that comes our way? And for me, interestingly enough, and Ariel, I think, said it best, I had an ego. I had something I had to fill. I had to feel important. And maybe it wasn't ego. I had to feel important because I never felt important as a child. I never felt like I was the focus or the main, the things that kids should feel. And I'm somehow was trying to fulfill that, right? And money in the bank, the number of clients, the stature I was trying to do in a job, I started trying to replicate in my business. So I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I was trying to prove something to somebody that didn't matter, but apparently mattered to me. And I didn't face those demons. I didn't face my junk, right? My baggage is what we call it in our program. We call it baggage. And we literally have an entire week where we deal with baggage, right? And it's literally the first week of our program. And the reason being is because if we don't deal with that, it's going to continue to be the forefront of our decision making, which is going to keep us from that freedom and independence. So how do you get help? What do you do to kind of get on, I would say, the fast track, right? To quit that job if you haven't quit that job, or if you have quit the job and the other scenario is you're working in your business and you're working a lot of hours and not making progress, or working too many hours, making progress, but just too many hours. You don't have a life. In other words, you really don't have the freedom you thought you would have in your business. How do we fix that? Well, the number one way I fixed it was I started seeing a business coach. And I started talking to him. I would go monthly. We would work through things. He started etching away at all of Terry Power, Joint Agency Fast Track. Yes, Terry, that is an exact way we'll get to that, I promise. But I hired a coach, right? I hired a business coach. I started reading books. I started going back and rereading books that I had remembered, but I never took action on. I bought some courses. But all of these things still kept taking up more and more and more of my time. The eventuality was I had to soul search. I had to figure out why I was making stupid decisions. And I'm going to call them what they are. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you make bad decisions, I'm going to call them bad decisions. But if I make them, I'm just going to call them what they are. They're stupid. Didn't hire, stupid. Worked too many hours, stupid. Took on work I shouldn't have taken on. Took on clients I shouldn't take on, stupid. Bad business decisions. And every one of them was because I was playing this game. The more money, I wanted my numbers to rise. I wanted my success to rise because I had something to prove to somebody. And I'll be honest, it was my father, it was my family, it was people who told me I wouldn't be anything and I wasn't smart. I had something to prove. And all it did was get in the way. It got in the way of my business, it got in the way of my life, and it held me back. Now, I'm not saying that's your deal. That's the true journey to freedom and true independence. The true journey is trying to figure out what's your baggage. Like look in the back of your car right now, so to speak, right? How much baggage do you have in your trunk? I had so much, I had a pickup truck. Like you could fill the back of a pickup truck with all the baggage I had. And little by little by little, going through coaching, going, through different things, I learned to let go of all that stuff. I learned the reasons why I was doing things. I learned how to stop doing the things that were holding me back from what I really wanted, which literally was that independence and freedom that had always been more important to me than money. Yet I was blinded by my faults and past beliefs, okay? To the point that I almost quit my business. And you guys have heard that story. And if you hadn't, you can go back and watch some of the other Monday mindsets, and I'll talk about that. But I had to get my head right before I could get my business right, okay? So if you write anything down, you have to get your head right before you can get your business right. Trust me on this. And now, so I'm going to fast forward and tell you, now I have the independence to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. I pick the customers, and if I don't like them, I don't work with them. Literally. I get on the first phone call and I don't get a good feel, I can pass, right? I don't have to be scared that, oh, if I don't take this money, nothing else will come, because I've built a business where I'm getting all the leads I need so I can pick and choose. I work when I want, right? Today's typically an off day, you know, in America, but I'm working. But I didn't work Saturday or Sunday. I took the whole weekend off, had a great time. I'm taking Wednesday off, part of Wednesday off this week. And then next weekend, I'm having a 5-day weekend because I have family in town. I work when I want. I work with whom I want. And I do what I want to do. And to illustrate that, I will tell you, in 2019, I spent 12 weeks literally away traveling because I love traveling. And that year I had earned more money than I ever had in my entire life. Like in 1 year, I earned more money than I had, I want you to hear what I'm saying, cumulative of my entire life while traveling 12 weeks a year. Now, I'm not saying this to brag. I promise you, I'm not that person. I'm saying it to help you understand that freedom and independence. I love 4th of July because every year it reminds me. And I hope now, even if you're not in this country, when you think of the 4th of July, you remember that you got to look back and say, okay, am I doing all the things I should be in my business? Am I really independent and free? And if I'm not, what do I do about that? Right? What do I do about that? Because today is the day after. And that's why I almost always work the day after the 4th of July. I don't care if it's a holiday. I just almost always do because I'm so reinvigorated about my business every year. All right, guys. So I think you guys get the idea. To me, independence is the name of the game, freedom, the ability to do what we want, make what we want. That's what we're striving for. If that's what you have right now, and I know some of you guys do, we have a lot of people in this group who have been through the program, who had achieved their level of success, went through the program and really, you know, got on the fast track and ramped up their results. You've heard from some like Terry and Christine and Hava's in here. I see her name today. Annie's in the program right now. So we have a lot of people that are in the program and they are on their way to achieving that freedom. So if you are not on your way, I tell you today, find a way to get there because it's a life like no other. Now, I would be remiss not talking about my program. That's why I'm here every week. I'm very honest about it. I'm going to give you lots of nuggets, but at the end of the day, I do have an amazing program that really helps people. So if you're ready to achieve the freedom, and it really is reserved for very few people have the lifestyles we do, right? I want you to type freedom in the comments or chat right now. And if you're watching the replay, do it. Type it in there. In a few short weeks, and I've been talking about this, we're going to be opening the doors to Agency Fast Track X Success. And I think it's 15 weeks it's been closed. Nobody's been able to get in and join the program. And we do that on purpose because it's a live program. We don't let people in. You know, you might hear other gurus like, it's going to close on this date. You never can get back in for this many. We mean it because we spend the time necessary individually with each person. So you're going to have the opportunity in a few weeks to join our elite group, to be one of the fast trackers, put yourself on the fast track to success. So I want you to start thinking about that. Is it going to be a right time for you? Are you ready to get that freedom, right? Because we're only going to have limited seats. We do that every time. So we have limited. And the reason is because I spend one-on-one time with each student. We have strategy sessions. Our program is like no other. This is not buy a course, watch some videos, and you're good to go. It is very interactive with me, interactive with the group coaching, and everything else. So you're going to have the opportunity, just like me, to change your life, right? Do what I did. Now, will you make, millions of dollars? It took me 10 years to get there. So yeah, I think you can, but it's up to you if you will, right? That's not up to me. That's up to you. But you're capable, just as capable as I was. There's just a lot I had to learn, right? So it's a group coaching program, limited seats, but I'm going to cover everything. We cover everything on the journey. And so we're going to have one of the Monday Mindsets coming up. We're actually going to talk about the program. We're going to show you the program. We're going to call it, during that week, it's kind of our promo week. So we don't do one of these sessions as just information. We're actually doing a promotional. We'll talk about the program. So get ready for that. I just want you guys to have a heads up, okay? Group coaching on steroids. We've had about 150 people go through the program, all fast track their businesses. Many of them double, triple what they were making. But most importantly, hear me when I tell you, that's not our goal in the program. Our goal in the program is to change your false beliefs and start showing you what real freedom and independence is, what being a real business owner is, and what it's not. And what it's not is working in your business. That's what it's not. What it is the freedom to run a business and to create a lifestyle like no other. And we help you do that. We create a clear strategy to make that happen for you. So again, if you are interested in that, put freedom. We'll make sure to get you on the list. We are actually going to notify all the people who have told us they want to be notified first. You guys are going to get first shot to come into the program. That way, if we run out of seats, we will not open it to the public. All right, guys, if you received value out of this live stream today, regardless of the program, I want you to type value in the chat so I know what I'm giving you is stuff you want to hear, stuff that's going to help you, stuff that's going to move your business forward. I always like to know. If you're watching the replay, same thing, type value on the replay so I know that this is the kind of stuff you want. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Love you guys. Hey, love David. Value and freedom. Value and freedom. Yeah, value and freedom, guys. I hope this Monday Mindset gets your week off to an amazing and productive start. I know it's going to help you guys feel freer today, more independent. But remember, take that to the next level. Don't just talk about it, live it. I guarantee you guys, I live the lifestyle. The folks that work with me can tell you I live the lifestyle. And it's not that I slack. I don't. I work. But I'm very much into that freedom and independent lifestyle. I work when I want to, on my terms, doing what I love to do. Okay. So have an amazing, amazing week. Remember, to change your mind, you have to change. To change your business, you have to change your mind. To change your business, you have to change your mind. Thanks for joining us on our Monday Mindset. Hope everyone who's off today has a fantastic rest of your 4th of July. Thank you for joining us. Have a productive and profitable week, everyone.